You've come to the right place if you're looking to create, launch, and scale a high-value online training program. I'm your guide, Chris Badgett. I'm the co-founder of LifterLMS, the most powerful learning management system for WordPress. Stay to the end. I've got something special for you. Enjoy the show. Hello and welcome back to another episode of LMS Cast. I'm joined by a special guest. He's back on the show. It's Chris Lassiter. You can find Chris at learnainow.ai. Chris does a lot with artificial intelligence. It's always fun to see what he's been up to. He's working with agents. He's building entire courses with AI. We're going to do some screen sharing in this episode. So if you're listening on the podcast and you want to see what Chris is demoing and talking about, go to the LifterLMS YouTube channel and do a search for Chris Lassiter, and you'll find it. Make sure you get the most recent episode or the most recent video so that you can see those screen shares. Or you can go to the LMS Cast website, which has the podcast on it. That's lmscast.com. It has both the audio and the video version of the podcast. But first, welcome back to the show, Chris.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Well, you've been busy. You're going deep in the AI tools, and you've been doing a lot of development. Tell us about what you've been up to at Learn AI Now.
Yeah, so basically, we have been working on courses on the site to teach others on how to use AI. And one of our first courses that we're about to release here in the next week or two is on how to build a website by using just AI. I know you and I, we mainly use WordPress to build our websites, but the way that I'm doing it for this course is to show people on how to use AWS to host your website, how to buy a domain through Route 53, and then we use a new program called Bolt.new to build the website, and that's what we'll be showing you today.
Awesome. Well, what is Bolt.new? What does it do?
Yeah, so Bolt.new basically allows you to use AI to build a full stack front end, back end of a website using mainly React and JavaScript, and then you can build that project up and then put it on like an S3 server for AWS, and then bam, you have a front end and a back end of a website. It does it all for you.
Wow, that's awesome. Well, I'm excited to jump into the demo if you want to show us. And again, if you're listening, come on over to the video version of the podcast on the YouTube channel or lmscast.com.
Yeah, absolutely. So let me go ahead and click on share screen here. All right, so you should be seeing my screen here in a second, and it should be the Bolt New website.
Yep, that's up.
All right, perfect. So right here, it's really simple. So let's say we want to build me a portfolio. I am let's say full stack developer with AWS certifications. We'll just keep it as simple as that. And what we'll do is we'll hit go. And so what it's going to start doing is it's going to start designing, the front end and building all the code. And it's really fantastic. And, something that I'd also like to point out also, if Bolt.new right now, they here on May 30th, they're actually going to be launching a hackathon with prizes up to $1 million worth of prizes. And the main prize is $100,000. And I've actually signed up for it. So, if they go to hackathon.dev, they'll be able to register, and it's going to be amazing. I mean, $1 million in prizes with $100,000 as the main prize. They're not sponsoring me to say that on this video. I just think it's something that's just fantastic, and people can really to do it, and it's for anybody. A vibe coder like me, because I'm not a coder, I'm a vibe coder. I use AI, and I try to understand what's going on, and I learn as I go. But this event is for anyone from a beginner to advanced.
That's awesome. And as that's building, AI I find a little overwhelming because there's all these new tools and stuff's happening really fast. How do you keep up with it all?
So actually, I have a routine throughout my day. So I try to stay focused on my projects during the day. And then in the evenings, while I'm sitting in bed, that's when I'm actually going through YouTube and notifications, from, LifterLMS's notifications on Facebook, or there's some people I follow on YouTube, and I just start going through, all the new AI that's being released. And I just try to stay ahead of everyone, and try to remember what's going on, because if you don't stay ahead, you're gonna fall behind.
Yeah, that's a great point. And it's amazing watching what Bolt.new is doing here. This would take a developer weeks, months to do what you're doing in like a podcast episode, and not even the whole episode. It's awesome.
Yeah, so right here, what you see right now is it's installing all of the dependencies on the server after it kind of broke down on what it's doing. It kind of tells you how, for the navigation, it's going to be smooth scrolling, badges for AWS. It's talking about the design elements. And then what it's doing is it's creating every single component that it needs for this React website. And then once it's done, it's going to show you a preview of it. And that's where you can actually start modifying anything that you want changed. And what's really cool is recently they actually just added a selector on here. So you can actually select components or elements on the site and actually say specifically, hey, change this. So that's really cool. And another thing that they just added is GitHub connection. So once you have this saved, you can actually save it to your GitHub, and then you can take it to another IDE like, Cursor, and, make changes to it, and then push it back to your GitHub, and then you could come back to Bolt and then pull it back from GitHub and then continue working on it for the design aspect if you want. It's really powerful. It's really amazing. I'm excited to show you what this is going to look like here in a few minutes.
So after the initial build, like if somebody just wants to update some text on the about page, what would the simplest way to do that be?
No, yeah, absolutely. So one of the simplest thing is connecting it to a CIDI pipeline. So, for example, connecting it to your GitHub, and then when you're over here, you could say, "Hey, make this change to this," push it, and then it'll push it to your GitHub. And then once you accept that, then in your GitHub, when you have the deployment YML that sends it to AWS, once you accept it in GitHub, it'll push only those changes to your S3 if that's how you're doing it. Oh, got people coming in the house, and it'll make those changes. So yeah, great question. We can use GitHub to control that. So if you see right here, I'm gonna go full screen on this. This is all built by AI, and so you got your call to actions right here where it says get in touch, and it works perfectly fine. You got view projects, takes you down here, and it kind of just puts in pretend view projects here. The live demo, of course, is not going to work right there, but you can fill that in with your information. But what I'm going to do is kind of just scroll down. So if you see here, it says like about me, it talks about, what a full stack developer does. And then, you have a call to action here for download resume. You have these little things right here for like your skills and your percentages. I really don't like those on my website, so I would actually change those. I think that's just whatever someone says. I really don't like those. Right here kind of talks about the technologies that a full stack developer what would be able to build with, and what they know about. Of course, we talked about the projects here. And then right here, we got the AWS certifications. What's really cool here is you could actually click on this and say, use this badge, and, give it a link, and it'll put that picture in there. But right here, it's talking about, the certifications that are available. And then you got your get in touch right here, and then send message. So what's really cool about this, now that we're at the bottom, is let's say we wanted this to actually work, be 100% functional. All we would have to do is go back to it, Oh, it's also got dark mode and light mode. See how it already built that in?
Nice, nice.
That's one of the hardest things too, especially with like if you're building on WordPress, trying to get that to do it without installing like 100 plugins. It did all of this instantly for me. But what I want to show you is take this out of full screen. Is for example, let's say we wanted to actually send an email. So what we could do is you see the integrations. It can integrate to Stripe, Superbase, and GitHub right now. We could say, hey, we want to connect to Superbase and be able to send emails, um, and it will connect that to the Superbase, which will hold your database. You can also connect it to Google and use their Firebase, which I've done a lot, especially for the email services. So that's really cool. But the Stripe, this one's fun. Watch this. So let's say we want a payment portal on here. Okay. So I want people to be able to purchase my resume for $5. Please add Stripe to my website. Make me a backend for admin. And so what it's going to do here is it's going to go ahead and start integrating the Stripe CLI into it. We don't need to add the Stripe key right now, so we'll go ahead and not do that real quick. Hold up before we. Oh yeah, it does need to add a Stripe key to it. I actually want to show this to you. So let me get a Stripe key real quick. It'll be a test one, so we don't have to worry about anyone using it. So what questions do you have about this so far?
I'm impressed at how fast that comes together. So, for people watching, this is an AI agent, right? Putting it together? Or, I mean, it's a chat interface like ChatGPT, but it's doing multiple things. So, does that make this an AI agent?
Yeah, so it is an agent, and I believe they have it connected to Anthropic for their AI. I'm not 100% sure on that, so don't quote me on that. But it is an AI agent that is connected to a specific model, and it's doing all this for you.
Yeah, that's amazing. What what explain how the Stripe works, because normally you have your own Stripe account, right? And you're getting a test API key so you can show it working. But I mean, like at LifterLMS as an example, we have a Stripe plugin that allows people to be able to connect Stripe. But this is just doing all that. It's basically writing the code for the Stripe connection and putting it in your website, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah, and I've looked in the back end. I've looked at your guys' Stripe code and saw all the hard work that your developers have done on it, and it does all that. It automatically just integrates it into it. It makes you kind of like a little e-commerce. It's really, really cool. Okay, here you go. I got a Stripe key. Let's see here. We're gonna create one.
And when you said create me an admin, a backend for admin, explain what that means.
So basically, I can have like a backend to be able to see like who ordered history, things like that. All right. So we're going to add the Stripe key. That's fine. Oh, I forgot to add the product. Of course I did. Oh, 1 second. Let me cancel that real quick. And you know what? I actually forgot to put it onto staging mode. So that's one important to remember for those who are doing this. You always want to make sure that you are in test mode before you add the Stripe key, or you'll have to use a real credit card. So we're just going to call this I know you guys can't see it right now, but basically I'm just building a product real fast on here. So let me bring this over so you can see it. So I'm going to say a resume, and we're going to call this, we're going to say it's $5. It's a one-off, and we're just going to add this product real quick. All right. And then, so now what we need to do is we need to be able to get an API key. And so we'll go ahead and grab this. I think it's going to want. Ah. And this will all change. I'll delete all this afterwards. Okay. Migration for people to buy my resume. And then wonderful spell check.
How do you do with bolt.new like domain mapping?
Yeah, so right now, when you're ready to deploy this, it actually deploys it to a temporary site so you can view it. And then you can domain map from that temporary site by using their service, or you can actually, download it to a server already that already has a domain mapped to that server. So if you look right here, it'll say that, hey, we need to be able to save all this information into a database. So we need to connect to Superbase database. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and connect. And so we're going to create a new project. We're just going to call it resume. And then we'll just have it choose its own password. And then, of course, we'll, change all this at the end and delete this. And so what's really cool about this is you don't necessarily have to use this database. You can actually use any database that you want to use. You can use AWS, Mongo, what have you. I just like to use Superbase for this because it's a lot easier because it automatically already fully integrates. All right. So now what we want to do is say I want to change my Stripe key as I was using a live, because we don't want to do that, because right now it's connected to the live side of the Stripe configuration. So let's go here. We'll get a copy of that. All right. We'll go to code here. And let's see here. Go to env. There's the Superbase. Where is the Stripe at? Go to. All right. Come on. Should have done that in the beginning. I think I made it mad. All right. So this is what we're going to do then. We're just going to, since I messed that up, we're just going to send it back. So I should have given it the right key in the beginning. So what we're going to do is we're just going to switch it back out of test mode, and then a product catalog. And then I'll create a product real quick. We'll call it resume. One off, $5. Add the product. And then let's see here. There we go. All right. All right. So right now it's going to go ahead and it's going to be able to create that Stripe checkout session so people can securely purchase it. And then it's building those functions within the database. And of course, it's going to create those components. Now, I'm really happy that this happened. This will happen a lot when you're vibe coding. Vibe coding is basically, people who don't know how to code and they're just using AI to create, and you're just vibing along, trying to figure it out. And so what I'm going to do is I'll apply this Superbase migration, and then I'm going to say right here, I need you to go ahead and fix this component. Like I said, happens a lot when you're building, because sometimes it may add like a component that's not connected to another component. And so you'll just have to click on it to fix it. So not a big deal. And then normally what I'll do is I'll click it like twice. And if it doesn't change what the issue is, I'll say discuss problem. And it'll kind of talk it out. And then you can say fix the error, and it should fix this problem. So let's see here. It's talking about the about component. There you go. Perfect. Okay, so we got out of that. So all right, now we're in a different one. Discuss problem. So have you used any vibe coding tools, Chris?
Not yet, but I'm close. You're getting me pumped to try it. I was talking to my friend Matt Medeiros, and he was doing a bunch of custom podcasting apps and stuff, getting me excited about it.
Yeah, I have a friend right now. He does a podcast, and it's 100% all AI. He types it all out, and he used his voice, and it does it all for him. And I think it's fantastic. It saves him a lot of time. All right, it should have it on there. So now I don't see the links or anything like that. So let me see on here.
I
All right.
saw it. Download the resume. It's just lower on the page.
Yeah, it said download resume. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, create me a Stripe portal to purchase the resume. Give me a backend to see histories, and also a customer portal. All right, so it's going to go ahead and update the package JSON to add any necessary dependencies, and now it's going to start updating the React app to add those components that we need, those pages that we need for React. So I'm actually learning a lot about React right now. I've been using WordPress for 15 years, and there's just so much to learn when it comes to coding. The coding is the part that I don't understand at all, because I'm a vibe coder, but I'm just really trying to understand, the difference between pages and components, and, you know, .js or .tx files, and just all the different types of, the different types of coding that you can do with React. But I think that's what's nice about being a vibe coder. Even though AI is doing it all for you, I'm learning all of it, while it's doing it. I'm asking the questions.
It sounds like WordPress in a way. Like, I'm not a developer myself, but WordPress allowed me to like basically vibe code websites. Like the tools, I've heard it called the layers of abstraction. Like we don't necessarily know how the machine works at like a mechanical level at the server, but we use it to create websites, and that's okay.
All right, let's see here. Did it add it? Okay, so I don't see it on there yet. So I don't see a way for me to purchase the resume on the landing page. Please update. So it's taking me a little bit longer to get through this process, because I didn't actually tell it from the beginning that we were going to integrate Stripe and Superbase into it. So normally, last time I built an example, it took me like 5 minutes, and I had everything there. So let's see if it works now. All right, so the purchase resume is there. There's some kind of issue. So let's Let's see what the issue is. So for yourself, what are you exploring for AI to help you to assist you with like the podcast?
As an avid podcast listener, my friend Matt had built something that helps you like kind of gather podcasts. Like podcast discovery is actually a big problem. Like podcast search, like
Mhm.
finding, you know how like Amazon suggests movies you would like once they really, or Netflix gets to know you and it like shows you, hey, you might also like this other dystopian future movie. Like finding good podcasts and not just like the six that Spotify recommends based on your what you follow and all that stuff. That's an area. Um, I like as a podcaster, I like using AI to do research on guests, and that's just Chat GPT land and coming up with good questions and stuff like that. One thing I've been interested in that I haven't done is sometimes I like to be a guest. I want to be a guest on my own podcast, but I don't necessarily like to just sit there and talk for an hour. But if I could create some kind of AI interviewer, I think that would be really cool to prepare a show, like a vision for a show. And even if like not all the questions were, just say exactly this, but if you could have some kind of podcast interviewer that could interview yourself or even other people, I think that's really
Mhm.
interesting. And ideally, that would it would be able to also be a video version and stuff like that.
I think we're close. I think we
Yeah.
are so close to being there like that.
I mean, you could probably do it now just with ChatGPT and the voice mode and, just say, hey, I want to record a 45-minute podcast of myself. I'd like to touch on these topics. Interview me and then just record that. This episode of LMS Cast is brought to you by Pop-Up Maker, the most powerful, trusted pop-up solution for WordPress. Whether you're selling online courses or memberships, Pop-Up Maker helps you grow your email list, boost sales conversions, and engage your visitors with highly customizable pop-ups. Imagine creating custom opt-ins, announcements, and promotions that actually convert. I personally use Pop-Up Maker on my LifterLMS websites for lead magnet opt-ins, cart abandonment, upsells, downsells, and guiding users to helpful content. Pop-Up Maker is an essential tool for growing my email list and making more money online through my website. Ready to take your website to the next level? Head on over to wppopupmaker.com/LMScast and save 15% on your order. Discount automatically applies when you visit through that link. Pop-Up Maker also has an awesome free version, so you can just use that as well. Go to wppopupmaker.com/LMScast and save 15% off your order or get started with the free version now. Get more leads and sales on your website with Pop-Up Maker today. Now back to the episode. I like Google LM too. Have you played around with that? Or
Uh,
Notebook LM?
I have not. It's on my list. I have a little green book here that I keep on my desk
Yeah.
of all the AI stuff that I'm working on or doing, and it's actually in there to go take a look at it.
What I love about Notebook LM is, you can get lost in chat threads and stuff, but with Notebook LM, I think you can upload up to 50 or 100 different sources. They could be videos, it could be like a PDF of a book, it could be a URL and all kinds of stuff. And so it's like you're consolidating your research, and then you can tell it when you prompt it to look at all of it or just these three things and so on to guide the output. And then it also has a feature where once you're done with the output, it will you can ask it to create a 20-minute podcast where two fake AI people talk about whatever the thing is. And it's actually a really cool way to learn. So I just find it fascinating.
Oh, that's really cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
I actually saw something like that the other day on a YouTube channel. I thought it was pretty funny on how people are doing that. So while we were talking, like I was saying in the beginning, it's kind of nice to go ahead and give that prompt in the beginning on what you want to do with connecting to like a database and using Stripe integration. So I went ahead and restarted the project, and that's the fun part about it being a vibe coder. Sometimes you just got to stop what you're doing and start over again. Could I have gotten it to work through the other way? I could have, but we just don't have time in this podcast to do that today. So we're going to try to do it here in like under 10 minutes. Try to get this connected to Stripe and a database. If we were doing this back in the day, I mean, it would have taken probably a week to do this.
Yeah. Easily. Easily. I think
So
that's
what's
a
really
good
nice
point
though,
too about not
but
getting frustrated. Like that's part of vibe coding. You got to just reset and just go with the flow. And sometimes you got to burn your ships and start over. Because when you have this kind of speed, it doesn't matter if you okay, well, I took it took me 10 minutes to learn a mistake, so now I'm just gonna start over and not make that mistake. And you're literally doing like weeks or months of work in 10 minutes. So it gives you a lot of time.
So what I'm doing right now is I just reset all my keys on Stripe since they were publicly on the video. So they're all replaced now. So it's very important that when you are filming with other people, if you accidentally show your .env file or your secret keys or tokens, make sure you always change them right away.
Or logins.
Yeah, that too. Have you done that before in a podcast? Have you accidentally showed like a login or a password or anything like that?
I mean, the password managers make it they kinda know expect that, so they hide it when you do it. So I haven't had that problem in a long time. But yeah, there's plenty of times where I've had to edit a video and blur out a license key or something like that.
So as you see here, it's actually doing a really good job. It's showing the super base, the Stripe integrations. It's showing the login page, the check in, the checkout. So I think we may get this on the first try when it's done here in a few minutes. But while we're waiting, I would like to show you that project I was talking to you earlier about before the podcast about how I'm using AI agents to actually build a course for you
Yeah,
inside of WordPress. Can we switch to that real quick?
yeah, let's switch over. The agent's
Yeah,
busy, so we're gonna go do something else. This is another cool thing
yeah,
about vibe coding.
yeah. So this right here is NAN, and what's really cool about it is it's basically just a complete workflow automation system to connect to like so many different APIs. And what I've been working on, I'll zoom in on this so you can kind of see it, is when you receive a chat message from someone to say, "Hey, build me a course on how to be a lifeguard." What it'll do is it'll store that into a memory right here, and then it'll go up to another agent to understand exactly the course details and what's going on. And then it'll have like an if and factor. So, like, hey, did they answer it correctly? Did they not answer it correctly? And then if not, then what they'll do is it'll go back to the user and say, hey, I need more answers on this. And then once the chat has everything it needs, what it'll do is it will post it to your site, create the course, create the lessons, and then send a chat back to the user saying that it's created. And I actually got it to work yesterday on simple mode. It created a course on how to be a lifeguard. It created the 4 lessons that I asked it to create. The only problem is I didn't connect the lessons to the course. That was my fault on the coding side. So this morning I fixed that and everything worked out great. But what I'm trying to do right now is an advanced version of this. And so I added some storage memory for AI, so it can like remember what the AI and what the conversation between the user and the AI is. And I changed a bunch of code responses in here. And so basically, at the end, what I wanted to do is to be able to build a web app that users can come in and they already have their WordPress site up, they have their LifterLMS installed, and they want to be like, okay, hey, I want to build a course on how to build an airplane. And they can go into my web app online and go to, okay, hey, build me a LifterLMS course on how to build an airplane. I want 10 lessons within this course. And then just hit send. And then it'll do all of that. And then it'll, of course, you'll have to put in your login information to your WordPress, like maybe a custom user, and it will connect to securely to your site, and it'll use this automation and it will build everything out for you. So all you have to do is then go into Lifter LMS and go into the course builder and see that these courses and lessons have all been built, and then just start modifying it. So instead of going one by one and adding everything in there, it's already there for you. Of course, you'll have to modify it, add the pictures, videos, or what have you. But eventually, once I get my vibe coding done, ideally, it would be great for it to say, okay, hey, what quizzes do you want? What assignments do you want? Do you want a video? Okay, what's the link to the video? And then you put all that in there, and it's done. And then
Yeah,
now you have a course with a bunch of lessons, and everything's there for you.
that is super cool. That is super cool. Tell us more about what N8N is, like what it does.
So it's an open source workflow, which you can use nan.io, or you can actually download it onto your computer. And it basically lets you like build automated processes without writing a ton of code. It's just click and go. It's really freaking fascinating. It's kind of like Zapier, but it for me, it's got like a lot more connections, and I, I really love it a lot. And there's really a ton of videos out there on how to use it. But what I've been doing is I've been using ChatGPT and Anthropic, and I've been going back and forth between the two. Like if I'm working on like, hey, I kind of need step by steps, I'll use ChatGPT because ChatGPT is really good at walking you through stuff. But then if you go to Anthropic is really good at coding. So if I'm working on, for example, let's see here. If I go to, was it prepare section data? So right here, if you look at this, this is the code saying once it's created the course, it needs to make sure that the courses and the lessons are mapped together. I use Anthropic to do that. And that was the problem before. I didn't have that code in there, and so I didn't connect the lessons to the course ID, but now it does. And
Nice.
so that's what I'm using. It's really cool.
This looks like like if you're building marketing automation in active campaign or something, you can build these workflows and automations that happen through time. So the interface looks familiar in that way. And I personally like the visual style so that I can see how it all fits together and not try to hold that in my head.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, if you go online and look at NAN workflows, I mean, there are just some crazy workflows. I could build right now. It would probably take me maybe about an hour. I could build a workflow that connects to my ChatGPT account. And when I'm on my phone, I can go, hey, read me all my emails that I received today. And in the workflow, it connects to my Gmail account, and then it'll send it back to ChatGPT, and then it'll read me all my emails. Or I can say, hey, send an email to Chris. Hey, I'd like to be booked on your podcast today, and it will send you an email on my behalf. It's fantastic.
That's cool.
All right, I think any other questions about this? If not, we're going to go back over to the Bolt and see the next steps.
Yeah, let's switch back to Bolt.
All right. All right, it says we need a new Superbase connection, which makes sense because we started a new project. So we're going to click on Superbase. We're going to call this resume 2, create new project. Sorry, resume 2. Let it fill its own password in, create new project. All right, we're going to apply those changes to the database schema. Okay. And now we need to be able to add the Stripe payments into it. While it's doing that, kind of look, see how like look at how it
I
just
like
fixed
that
it.
little animation. That's cute.
Well, yeah,
I like subtle
animation thing.
animation like that. It's good.
Last time I built this, it did like the glass animation where like it lit up in glass mode. It was kind of cool. I could actually add that on there pretty quick. And
There's
then
your
right
resume
here,
purchase.
there it is. There's the resume purchase, secure payment, Stripe processing. So I asked it here to add the Stripe integration. So I'm going to hit apply. Oop, was it not done yet up there? Let's try that fix real quick.
So what is when you're looking with working with tools like N8N and Bold.new, like how should people think about cost in terms of AI has a cost, but these
Absolutely.
so how but it's probably not as much as you think, right? But somebody has to
Yeah.
pay for the agents and the energy required to run all this, right?
I'm glad you asked that. Let me give you an example. If you take the entire Harry Potter's series of books, all those words, and you throw them in a chat GPT, it's about 1 million tokens. Well, right now, for ChatGPT, depending on what model you use, it could be anywhere between, a couple of pennies to 25 cents per 1 million tokens. That's a whole novel. That's
Yeah.
so many characters that you can use. And so, yeah, it costs money. I would say I like to pay annually because you save more when you do it that way. But if I had to say monthly costs, I pay $20 a month for the ChatGPT Pro. Um, and then for Bolt, I paid for their annual. So I would say, let's say annually. So I probably pay about 200, maybe 250 a year to use all these tools.
Which is
Um,
not much for writing code that would take,
no,
a month to do, like, manually.
I
So,
once paid a coder to build something for me. It took him 2 weeks and it almost cost me $1,000. And that was years ago. And now I can do pretty much all of that and it costs me a few cents if
yeah.
you think about it. So right here, I clicked on the button to purchase the email, or I'm sorry, to purchase the resume. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and fill this out real quick on a different screen, so none of my stuff pops up. Oops, let's bring this back over here. All right, let's apply the changes. So sometimes when you are trying to register on a site with the database, there are security policies that are in effect, and so I had to update that. So what I did is I registered, and let's see here. If I click on dashboard, here's like the purchase history. There's nothing that's been purchased yet. Now it hasn't asked me yet to connect to Stripe. Let's see what happens when I click on this. Purchase resume. $5. It obviously would have to, fix all of, the text, make it a little darker or what have you. Okay. Yeah. So as I thought, it aired out right there because it hasn't even asked me for my secret key. So let me do that. So it's gonna take care of this issue. Let's see what it was. JSON issue with credentials. So while it's doing that, let's take a look at, see how here in the back end, how it's making all those changes. Pretty cool. Go to the ENV. And then we're going to click purchase resume, proceed to payment. Why do we keep on doing this? All right, we need to connect the Stripe to my Stripe account. You gotta love that word integration, right? Always spell it wrong. So yeah, so basically here, it's having a path issue with the Superbase database, but it didn't ask me for my secret key. Normally it's gonna ask right here to integrate with Stripe. I think I might have missed a step there. So let's see here. Let's see what it says. Oh, okay. So it wants me to go to the Superbase dashboard and then add that under there. Okay. All right. Not a problem. So I'm just gonna bring it over here real quick in a different window because I don't know what it's gonna want to show. All right, so let's see here. So navigate to settings, API. Yep. All right. And then click on environment variables. You know, it's funny when you go to a different website. Here, I'll show. Let's see here. You know, it's like, oh, you're following the steps, but it's like, where's that at? So project settings and then variables. I don't see it. I've been in here a few times, but sometimes I just get lost. Bring this over here. So let's see here. So I went to project settings, and then it says it wanted me to go to variables, but I don't see where the variables would be. This is making me nuts. So what are your thoughts so far?
That's really cool, man. Like, it's amazing. It makes me want to roll up my sleeves and commit some time to vibe coding and learning the tech. Like you said, if you don't learn this stuff, it's changing the world. So, like, it's good to do it. What advice would you have for somebody who wants to try their first vibe coding project? I know, like, it's really common for people to do like a to-do list app as like their first project. So like go try to build a to-do list app without being a developer and see how far you can get. So what would you recommend Bolt.new for that?
Oh, absolutely. I think bold.new would be one of the first things to start with, especially when you are creating, you know, your first website. Yeah, I really do. That was a great question. Okay, so it should just be in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say add the following into my .env. And then what I'm going to do is give my developer information to that. So it should update. You see right here, it should update my env with all that information. There we go. I saw it happening. Okay, cool. All right, so we're going to go ahead and give this information to it. Like I said, these will be reset afterwards. Oh, is it done now? Can I go back in there? Let's get out of it. Go back in there. All right, there you go. I was trying to make changes before it was done. And then we'll take a copy of the secret key. And then we'll take a copy of this. We should technically, I don't know if we can get away with that. We're not going to get away without doing that. So let's hit save real quick. All right, so let's go down here and try this. Yeah, because I think it's storing it in my Superbase. I think it's actually storing the information there, but it shouldn't be. It should be storing it here in my .env. So let's see what it says right here for the checkout page. But normally when you're using it in the beginning, it'll ask you just to connect to your Stripe, and then you give your secret key. I don't want to keep on boring you guys with this, but I did want to show you something like really cool. So for example, you see how this like animates right here?
Yeah.
Let's say, you want these panels right here to glow. What I can do is I can click on this inspector and then click right here, and I can say, make these panels animate and glow with a glassy effect when the mouse goes over it. All right, so right here it's going to make a beautiful glassy hover effect. So it's updating those components. All right, so now it's done it. So we'll scroll down and see, look at that.
Yeah, that's cool. Very
That's
cool.
cool. Yeah. Yeah. So it's really cool. So Bolt.New it's one of my favorite websites, especially when I'm vibe coding. I really like using them to start an idea and then take it outside of it and go to, like an IDE like Cursor and, just do more advanced stuff on it. But I have built websites for customers who didn't want to use WordPress. And we specifically, just I built it here and sent it to them, and they were so happy about it. And it
That's
was a
awesome.
static, so they didn't need any changes. And yeah, it does a lot. People were worried about, oh, is AI going to replace coders or designers? And I'll go, no, I don't think it will. I think what it'll do is it'll just be able to allow them to work faster, make smoother projects, and make futuristic projects.
And get more people just who aren't developers getting involved in the space, which is a good thing.
Exactly.
Chris, this has been a great conversation. Thank you for taking us to school on vibe coding. I love your style too about like, hey, we're vibe coding. We got to roll with it. We got to learn. Let's fix these errors. Let's reset. It's something that just like we all started playing around with ChatGPT 2 years ago or whenever it was, like this is the next evolution of that. Start playing around with vibe coding and these agentic workflows, which is really cool because it's all about saving time and extending your capabilities, which is the whole purpose of technology.
Yeah. And what I want to say is, if you come to learnainow.ai and sign up for our first course, we partnered up with Bolt.New, and they're giving our customers 3 months free of their pro account, which is $20 a month. So you get 3 months free of using Bolt.New by just signing up for our first course when it's available here soon. So we're excited to do that.
That's awesome. That's learnainow.ai. Chris, thank you for coming back on the show. Keep up the good work. You're going to have to come back on again and we're going to see the Lifter course builder workflow and how that evolves. That's going to be fun. But keep up the amazing work, keep innovating, and thanks for coming on the show.
No, absolutely. Thank you for having me. And I'll be using bolt.new to create the front end of that. So I'm excited to show it to you. And I'll see you next time on the podcast.
Sounds great.
And that's a wrap for this episode of LMS Cast. Did you enjoy that episode? Tell your friends and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. And I've got a gift for you over at LifterLMS.com/gift. Go to LifterLMS.com/gift. Keep learning, keep taking action, and I'll see you in the next episode.